Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Boruto manga review. This one's going to be for chapter 63, Ask No Questions. Overall, I thought this was a solid chapter, but nothing more than that. It ends on a point where we are at a hype moment, but I don't think most of the chapter itself was at that level. Even the moment at the end, I'm a little unconvinced by, because it obviously asks a couple of questions. It prompts an explanation, which I'm assuming we're going to get in the next chapter. But it's just like, okay, we've more or less seen this before. It's just slightly different, and there's a few questions about Boruto because he has the pills, and like there's a few things that we just don't really know about with Boruto's condition. So that is interesting. I want to know what the specifics are, but it's the whole chapter of build-up of like little bits and pieces that are kind of interesting, but really that ending is like the only really thing that happens, because a lot of the side stuff of like the village finding out, that Boruto is left and that they should track Boruto, they only just about get around to that in this chapter, and it just really feels like the pacing is a bit all over the place. I think the chapter still remains solid because the strength of just Boruto and Kawaki basically having a conversation with code that Ada is also involved in is interesting to have. Sort of the main heroes meet the current main villain, and that's always going to work. And so there's a few like little bits and pieces that you get there because, for instance, it's Boruto's first time meeting Code. It's Code's first time talking to the Momoshiki vessel. So there's things like that that are interesting, but another chapter that very much flatters to deceive. Just 40 pages to accomplish what probably could have been done in about 20. Again, a monthly chapter feeling like a weekly chapter, and the pacing not fitting the style of the story. So we'll get into the kind of page-by-page analysis here. So Boruto's arrived at the fight, that's where we start off. We quickly get the idea Ada couldn't get through to Code because he was so focused on Kawaki. That's why he was a bit surprised by the arrival of Boruto. That's really all there is here in this opening sort of section. We do get, Boruto and Kawaki having a conversation of just Boruto trying to better understand why Kawaki is doing this. Using yourself as bait to draw Code out. Kawaki saying, "I won't let Lord Seventh die, even if it costs me my own life." So that's the kind of like truth of the situation. This is where Boruto finds out what we've known for a couple of chapters now, that being Kawaki's devotion and dedication to protecting Naruto. So that's the reason for all of Kawaki's sort of crazy actions of late. Makes sense, but again, it's like, okay, just catch the characters up on it, it's fine. Ada does warn Code that, right now, people are still searching for what way they should go, but they'll be here sooner rather than later, so you should get a move on. Kawaki proposes the idea that he wants to talk to the person that wants to speak to him, basically Ada, but of course Kawaki doesn't know who Ada is because Code just mentioned that I agreed with someone else that you are not part of my vengeance plan anymore. So when Ada overhears this, she begins to absolutely freak out. No way, Kawaki wants to meet me, oh my. She gets really sort of flushed, she's really embarrassed about this, and I think this is fun. I like this characterization of Ada, that she's pretty cool and threatening to a degree in some of the scenes where she was introduced. But I like that she just sort of falls apart a little bit the second she's impressed by anything that Kawaki or Boruto does. And that really comes across here quite interestingly, that she actually seems to not overly have a preference either way. The agreement between the two of them, just for the sake of the plan, seems to be that we'll keep Kawaki alive for you and sacrifice Boruto, but she personally actually seems to also be interested in Boruto by the end of this stuff. So yeah, we just get the idea that Kawaki's used to negotiating with people who've never been reasonable with him. Boruto steps in at this point because he doesn't like the idea that Kawaki's just kind of stepping past him, going ahead with the same, you know, I'll do it on my own type thing to protect the village. And effectively all that happens here is just Kawaki tries to get across the idea that, no, this is what I'm going to do. Step away, Boruto. You're the one who doesn't understand. I'm doing this for Lord Seven. It doesn't matter what he thinks. Boruto punches Kawaki here, basically just highlighting, you want to protect Dad. I'm going to protect you. That's what this is about here. Ada freaks out about this proclamation. Again, seeing the bond that those two have is sort of like a bond she wishes she could have in a non sort of manufactured way like she's used to. So that's kind of interesting. This is where we get the meeting of Code and Boruto for the first time. He mentions, I worship Otsutsuki and have inherited their grand will. Boruto seems to not really care, but interestingly, Code does say, I revere you. Because Otsutsuki are my faith, they're equivalent to gods. It pains me that I'm going to have to feed you to a 10 tails in order to cultivate the divine tree. It's too cruel a task for a devout follower like me. And yeah, he basically at this point just wants to test out Boruto's level to determine the quality of the sacrifice he's going to have. So Boruto prepares to fight Code. He activates his karma mark as we cut away. And this is the scene that I'd be sort of a bit more critical of in the chapter. We cut back to Naruto talking to Ino. Ino is trying to search out Kawaki, but he's turned off his chakra because, again, the adults have only half listened to what Boruto said, even though he basically explained it already. So it's them trying to sort of catch up with the situation. Naruto notices Boruto is gone. He asks the guy outside, who also notices that Boruto is gone. And it's just like, I get what you're trying to do. You don't want the adults to catch on so quickly that they arrive on the scene of the battle before these characters accomplish what they need to do on their own. But you can do it in a way where it doesn't have the village come across as utterly incompetent when we've just had multiple scenes with Boruto literally explaining the situation here. So basically what we're getting here is just that Naruto and the others are going to arrive much later than we think to the battle. But I think it's more of a distraction for you to forget the idea that Sasuke is actually sort of onto the plan, and he probably should arrive at this fight sooner than some of the others. So the fight starts here, and this is the thing with this fight. It's just, this is the setup section of the fight. Boruto is never ever going to beat Code like this. We know the level, there's too much of a gulf in class between the two. So this is just your typical hero comes at the villain with a flurry. Villain, casually dodges without attacking back in any sort of particular meaningful way. Again, he's just testing Boruto here. Boruto does a few clever moves with some like shurikens and transformation and clones and stuff like that. But ultimately, it's a nice flurry from Boruto, but he doesn't do anything to Code really at all. That's really all there is to say here. Code does get around to saying, though, that it's interesting fighting a ninja. However, you're an amateur when it comes to the karma. This is where Boruto notices Code's white karma. So Code comes in, knocks Boruto to the ground straight away, showing his demonstration of the power. Again, another flurry here. Boruto is knocked back, and then Code actually explains something relatively interesting, probably the most interesting dialogue in the chapter. Do you know why you get drastically stronger when you activate karma? Increased power and speed from improved physical ability is certainly a major factor, but that alone wouldn't result in such an exponential jump in battle strength. The real reason lies elsewhere, with karma's true essence, which is that the Otsutsuki's combat experience accumulated over millennia gets overlaid upon your own mind and body. That's why you get stronger. In short, you instantly become a seasoned warrior if you're able to draw on karma properly, that is. Now show it to me. Show me more than what you've got. Show me Otsutsuki Momoshiki's power. So this is the kind of thing we've in a way been waiting for. Yeah, a little bit more on the karma. In this case, it's an avatar type explanation here of how the avatar state adds to the avatar's power. That the cycle that is built up over generations and generations means that when you use the avatar state, you are empowered and have the sort of skill, knowledge, and power from all of them combined together. And that's basically what they say here, is that if you tap into the karma properly, you will have the experience of a millennia old Otsutsuki warrior overlaid onto you. That even though you're young, you will be at that level, and it's just creating that idea of the Boruto that Momoshiki, I guess, is the Boruto that Code is about to fight is going to be like Momoshiki, but different. In that Momoshiki won't be in control here, and it's just that difference between Momoshiki taking over versus sort of the karma state type thing that's going on here. So Code goes to stomp on Boruto to sort of end the fight, but suddenly Boruto just like vanishes from under Code's foot and is appearing sort of crouched beside him, emanating all this energy. And Boruto looks up, and he's basically activated that second stage karma. That's sort of, I guess, the equivalent to what Jigen did in the fight with like Naruto and Sasuke. The most notable thing probably is just the bits it goes up onto his fingers and kind of forms the rings on his fingers as well. And interestingly, it's sort of Borishiki, but without the horn and the obvious influence that it is Momoshiki having taken over. Code seems impressed by this as we get a bunch of reactions to it. It's a pretty cool kind of ending page, but I don't think there's a ton to really speculate on right now, at least here in the review. I'll probably do a little bit more of this when it comes around to the speculation ahead of the next chapter. But I find it interesting here. Again, the really obvious stuff is just, one, what's going on here? I don't think Boruto has wasted so much chakra that he should be at the level where Momoshiki can take over. Two, we don't know how the pills that he's been taking to suppress the Otsutsukification are affecting everything. In that, to a degree, you would assume that if they're working properly, that Momoshiki shouldn't be able to come out, but there's obviously going to be some trick to this as well. So, again, what has happened here, I don't think this is going to be Momoshiki. I think this is going to be some sort of a like avatar state style thing where like it's the defense mechanism, where it's going to be sort of Boruto mostly in control, but influenced in part by the generations of Otsutsuki knowledge that he's sort of tapping into with this sort of second level karma mark. And it's going to be interesting because this means he should be towards Code's level, so the fight should actually be more of a threat. But Code seems pretty confident in this. Now, obviously, he should be more skilled, having directly trained with the power of a karma mark with Shiki, I guess. But we'll see where this goes. I know for some people this is going to be incredibly hype. For me, I'm kind of like, okay, yeah, but I really just want to see the explanation. And until we have the explanation, I can't get like super excited about it. That's just where I'm at with this sort of thing. Is that I think at this point I'm just so used to like, yeah, this I guess was a pretty obvious kind of cliffhanger to do, but yeah, that's really all there is. Like, again, reflecting on it, the only real thing I think there is to talk about is just that whole idea of the Otsutsuki combat experience accumulated over millennia gets overlaid upon your mind and body. That's the extra layer of what the karma actually does. It's more than just a power boost, it's also experience added on as well. And that's kind of what's interesting as well. Again, with the avatar connection, it's also that idea of, to a degree, like in the avatar state, this is why an avatar can do stuff like sort of lava bending, is that they have the power to do it, but also sort of the experience from, I guess, previous avatars who've also done it. And just, this is why it's powerful, but also refined as well. And it's the same sort of thing here. That's the real main sort of obvious connection there. Beyond that, like I said, I thought that it was fun seeing Ada's commentary in the background as she's like, "Oh, Kawaki, that's so cool. Oh, Boruto, no, that's amazing," and she's just freaking out, blushing at every single scene that happens between them. It makes me actually like really interested to see when she'll actually get to meet either Boruto or Kawaki in person, because she might not be able to talk to them based on the way things have gone so far. I was a bit frustrated by the Naruto scene of like it taking so long, making the village look so incompetent that they're only just now getting around to realizing they should track Boruto to find out where they've gone. But like I said, Sasuke I think is going to arrive on this battlefield before anyone else does. The Boruto Kawaki stuff towards the start, I guess, is fine because it's finally someone, I suppose, catching up to Kawaki and being like, okay, I get why you did this. Protecting Naruto is always a good thing. I agree with that. But you don't have to do this on your own. It's very much that dynamic, and Boruto just punching him to basically say that, stop this. I'm here because I want to protect you. And you don't want to be a hypocrite, so if you want us to agree with the idea of protecting Naruto, you'll agree with me protecting you as well. So, you know, it's that kind of nice moment. And again, bring up the idea that they are so close, they are brothers as well. Even the fact that he says, like, when Boruto says dad to Kawaki, he says it, he doesn't say, like, my dad. He's like, as if, you know, you're part of the family, he's your dad too, which is kind of nice to see that sort of inclusion from Boruto. But yeah, other than that, it's like, okay, cool. Code has met Boruto. The fight, like I said, the fight's going to be a bit more interesting now. I'm very interested to see how Code reacts to, I suppose, maybe getting more towards Momoshiki, but I think that's all I have to say. So, solid chapter, but in the comments let me know what your thoughts were, but that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.